Now, don't forget, Sunday night's MTV special Profiles in Rock featuring Van Halen. That is tomorrow night, okay, Van Halen, David Lee Roth and the Boys, 11 p.m. Eastern Time, 8 p.m. Pacific.
Welcome to Profiles in Rock. Doug Pringle's guest this week is Van Halen's David Lee Roth.
A lot of people refuse to do interviews because they think they're being taken advantage of, and they think they're being put upon, and they're going to be mistranslated and re-edited and stuff. And most of them should, because they're so goddamn boring. I know you're getting a bad impression of me right now. Do me a favor and spread it around.
Stay tuned for the words and music of David Lee Roth and Van Halen next on Profiles in Rock.
Okay, why don't you set the scene for us, Dave? Where are we? Van Halen headquarters or what?
Good afternoon. I'm David Lee Roth, live in Hollywood, California, land of 1,000 dances. Today, the interview, live in front of your naked, steaming eyes. No, oh shit. We're in Hollywood, and this is where it all comes from. This is ground zero in Van Halen terminology. This is the office, and this is the 7th floor, high in the basement of Hollywood, California. This is the land of 1,000 dreams here. This is where it all unfolds, the hopes, the dreams, the misery, the fantasies. It's all here.
Is it as much fun as you thought it would be?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. It's everything you heard is true, and I know you're getting a bad impression of me right now. Now, do me a favor and spread it around. Yeah, everything that you've heard is true. As a matter of fact, the people who are quietest out there in the music business are the ones who do the most. No, I ain't saying names, man, but it's true, you know. Hey, Osmonds, get down. Anyways. I'm having a ball. And it's like I get paid for what comes naturally, you know. I love bullshit, man. I love to sit around and talk, and I like to dream things up. And it's like adult Tinker Toys. You say, hey, let's make something real big, and it'll come down, and then it'll blow up, and I'll jump out wearing my Zorro outfit, and then you'll whiz by, and we'll segue into Run with the Devil, and that'll be the intro, and then we'll announce the group.
Okay, tell us something about David Lee Roth.
Dazzling young urbanite. By day, mild-mannered stockbroker. By night, Kiki, blonde, mini-skirted habitué of Hollywood's star-sparked Sunset Strip. Hopping and bopping and popping with the best bet for the boss beat at the top of the pop smash gold. For those of you with the timely taste.
Give me a rundown on each member of the band, one by one.
Crazy, you're out of this world.
One by one.
You can match them. Everybody has a very different personality, I've found, in Van Halen. Alex, you have to understand, drummers, by and large, make their livings hitting things with sticks. You know? And this is a personality deficit. I would say. This is a drawback. I think Al would tell you that. Edward is a recluse. Edward spent the longest time looking for a cave and was forced to settle for a house. He is your traditional purist musician, and he kind of hides out, and he's off in his own thing. And Michael just hot-rodded his jet ski, had it bored out, and I believe it does 60 miles an hour. So with any luck at all, we'll be seeing him come rehearsal time.
Well, what part do you play in the Van Halen empire?
I'm hesitant to use the word guru, Doug, but it's something that's been kind of bestowed upon me. I'm the only one who understands Zen in the office here, in the band itself. As a matter of fact, I'm the only one who can spell the word, quite frankly, and that's why I guess I found my niche, you know. And of course, that's all based on what occurred the night before, you know, in terms of merriment and what have you. I had a good night last night, man. I woke up this morning, and I was out with Al and James Scott, a guitar player for Pretenders, and we were out till quite late. And I woke up this morning, and I felt bad. I mean, real bad, and I was aching and everything. So I called up Al, and I says, Al, what happened last night, man? I feel bad. And Al says, oh, man, don't you remember? He says, we were out at the hotel, you know, at the Marquee, and everybody was drinking and partying at about 4 o'clock, man. You bet everybody that you could fly, man, you know, like that. And I says, oh, wow, what happened? He says, oh, man, luckily it was, you know, close to the ground because you jumped out the window, man. And I says, whoa, dude, why didn't you stop me? And he says, stop you? I bet him $100 you could do it.
What's the best thing about rock and roll for you?
The best thing about rock and roll and fame and everything like that is every now and then I turn around and I look and I feel like I finally made it. I am a magazine. You know, I am page 63 in 6-color laser dye printout, man, with a funny caption. You know, sometimes I look around and I feel like it's more comic book, you know. You ever get that feeling? Sorry, Doug. Anyways, you know, with the band, you can just continue on. You make music. You do anything you want. There are no perimeters here. There are no boundaries. There should be no over-ritualization, you know. You get into a lot of difficulties with that, you know. You can just spread out and do whatever you want.
Okay, what are your top 3 vices?
Oh, come on, man.
In order.
No, one of the best things about vices is they're so goddamn secret, man. It's like, you really feel covert, you know, a little dirty when you do things. You know, don't you like that feeling sometimes?
Who, me?
Hey, man, I know. This isn't your interview, it's me. Now that I've been on the road for a few years and like that, that I've been through all the vices 4, 5, some 8 times, you know? And I've tested every single one of them out, even ones I didn't want to do but read about. And I've personally picked the 3 or 4 that I like best, and I just do those all the time.
Okay, tell me about the best thing about being on the road.
Best thing about being on the road is exactly what goes on in the audience at any given time, particularly at a Van Halen concert. I know that when a large number of people gather in any large mass, say over 10, 20,000 people, that the collective IQ of everybody in that building will drop, you know, considerably. Just as the temperature will go up, you know, the IQ drops. And everybody becomes like between, I'd say, 6 to 8 years old bracket. You know, I guess this is one of the beauties of entertainment. Now, this is the same thing for a hockey game, as it is for a rock and roll show, as it is for the Super Bowl, as a lot of people go to church for this feeling. You know, if you've ever been to a religious revival or something like that, you know, it's the same physical, emotional, mental responses, you know, as opposed to getting this feeling of deliverance for 2 hours, an hour and a half, whatever the case may be for whatever event you're attending. Van Halen goes for the full 24, and we prolong that for between 8 to 10 months at any given time. You get to a point on the road, as an illustration, where I bought a watch. Somebody rather gave me a watch in Las Vegas. And it was one of these state-of-the-art nuclear azimuth-based, you know, one of those things that Jackson Browne's against, you know, glows in the dark. Pretty soon your hand does, you know, like that. And it had no numbers on it, it just had the hands, you know, like that. And I was in such a state that I had the watch on upside down, and I didn't know it for 2 weeks, man. I was like 12 hours late for everything. You know, that's how you get on the road. That's not to say everything in the music or the lifestyle, what have you, is fun, and boogie, boogie, boogie. I don't believe anybody is built that way, although I am built for comfort, not for speed. And, you know, we just kind of groove with it, man.
What's the least fun? What's the least fun thing in your life?
Hey, man, I tell you, a lot of people don't like to do interviews, you know. A lot of people refuse to do interviews because they think they're being taken advantage of, and they think they're being put upon, and they're going to be mistranslated and re-edited and stuff. And most of them should, because they're so goddamn boring. But it's like, you know, I have fun at this, and it's not a least fun thing for me. This is a major fun. We are having very fun here, ladies and gentlemen. Are we having fun yet? And what it is like you have 3 answers that you give to any question you're going to ask me, see, which the first answer is, and you can paraphrase these, you don't use these exact words, but the first answer is, I think what you're trying to ask me is this, Doug, and I'll talk about whatever the I want. And the second one is, before I answer that, let me say this, Doug, and I'll talk about whatever the I want. And the third one is, you know, let me answer that this way, Doug, and I'll talk about whatever the I want, man. And it's like open forum, you know. I'm sitting around and, you know.
Tell me, how do you like being rich?
Well, being rich basically means, it's a matter of money. I told you, man, I'm into Zen, you know. No.
Could it buys you a bit of mat to sit on, right?
Yeah, well, it's not like I'm so materialistic. I don't consider myself materialistic. I have a car or two, and I just bought a place to live, having put that off for 4 or 5 years, you know. And I haven't spent it on farmland, you know. A lot of people these days, they're really trying to get back to the land. They use their money to get back to nature, to the country. They eat a lot of dried fruits and sprouts because they think it make the drugs work better. And, you know, they get back to the land, and I personally can't wait to get back to the hotel, girls, they be put to shame over the edge, and yeah, I say, I mean, it's in heat up, and I know it's money, but I need that loving, as I get it all, and I need that love.
Which heavy metal bands do you like?
Well, since they all sound the same, I like them all, Doug. You know, it's like starting with Deep Purple, who they all ripped off, man. I love Deep Purple. So it's like, you know, since they all sound like that, I'd like them. Judas Priest, Michael Schenker Band, Iron Maiden, Def. Should I go on? You know, Black Sabbath, Rainbow, you know.
Where does Van Halen fit in there?
Well, Van Halen, I figure, is more like, more of a religious concept, man. It's more of a heartfelt thing. Van Halen is like a family-oriented band. Hey, I'm laughing because you laughing, you know. But it is. I personally started 3 or 4 since January. And it's like, you know, our stuff's for kids, man, you know. Our stuff's for adults, and our stuff's for everybody in between, you know. It is the music of the 80s, Doug.
What do your parents think of what you're doing?
Well, I wouldn't use the word highly, Doug. But I wouldn't use the word either. You know, what can you say? There's a little bit of Van Halen in everybody, and we're just kind of going around trying to shove a little bit more down your throat. And that's why I'm here in your home on your television. Go ahead, change the channel. I'm on all the rest, too. Wouldn't that be cool? Notice what I'm doing with my hands during this second half? It's the drugs, Doug. I'm sorry.
What was that you were saying?
Anyways,
you were saying you used to have a drug problem?
but now I have enough money. So,
okay, if you were in charge of the world, what would you change?
ticket prices. Nah, I don't know what I'd change. I think I'd nuke the whales, Doug. You asked me. Put your hands up here, I say!
What do you look for in a woman?
I can see we're off to a great start after the intermission, ladies and gentlemen. For our next guest.
What's been the highest point in your life so far?
I think the highest point in my life was the first time I ever made love. It was with a little Tahitian girl on the beach outside of Papayete. I was 13 years old. It was a full moon, and her little Tahitian girl, her name was Halen, and she spoke absolutely no English. And at that time, I spoke absolutely zero French, and even less Tahitian. And the whole time she was going, oh, David, I like you, I like you, I like you. And I knew that she meant she loved me, and I knew she just didn't know how to say it, but I've had a complex ever since, Doug. It was like, you know.
Do you ever get down?
Hey, brother.
Do you want to live a long time?
Well, some people take a candle and they burn it on both ends. You've heard that. Other people, Doug, they take their candle and they burn it in the middle. And I take a flamethrower in my candle. It's like 7 times the light and half the time, 1/3 the time, you know. Rock and rollers by tradition are rather like dogs who chase cars, you know. They make a lot of noise, get a lot of attention, but we don't last too long. And realizing this mortally and professionally, then, you know, when I go, I know what it's going to say on my gravestone. It's going to say, here, folks, have one on me, ... I told him I didn't feel well. And I go out just like I came in, screaming. You know? I'm going back to no ashes.
How long will you keep rocking and rolling, and can you see yourself doing this at age 40?
Who can tell what's going to happen in the years to come? We take it day by day at this point. Because in the music business, you know what they say? They say, here today and gone later today. Like, you know, and you're gone, man. You know, you're pushing broom. So it's like, or something. So it's like, what are you going to do? You take it day by day, and you don't worry. You know, you don't stop and look in the rearview mirror and go, oh, did I do this right? Oh, did I calculate this right? Oh, am I setting this up right? You know, am I laying enough background? I'm not burning any bridges, am I? You know, like that. People who are always looking in the rearview mirror tend to swerve off the road and keep right on driving. I'm predisposed to believe that the rear... I'm sorry, I'm stoned. The rearview mirror... Hey, what do you think the sunglasses? It's like the mirror is like sitting up there for one reason. It's so like you can tilt the mirror and look at yourself and see how cool you are when you're getting somewhere. And people miss this point. That's Zen, man. And that's like, most people miss that for their entire life. They just drive right off the road and keep on going. They can't figure out why they can't find where they are on the map.
Do you ever feel guilty about how much money you have and how little other people have?
A lot of people would say you should do it with the money that you make from your music. You should reprocess it into your art and make more functional art and everything like that. And I've given this great consideration, and there's been a lot of telemetry on my part when being involved with questions along this kind of line, and apropos of an answer towards this sort of an indigent philosophy, I would just invariably...
You've been totally constricted and constrained by my questions.
Really, get serious, Dave.
Why don't you say a last word on any topic that you so choose to our friends out there?
Ladies and gentlemen, you have just witnessed what has been subtitled an interview. In fact, it was a trip into David Lee Roth's private little world, a prisoner of the fourth dimension. Both this young interviewer and this dazzling young urbanite myself, in the prime of condition, both this interviewer and the rock star, determined to find and finish this interview.
Great.
Martha Quinn, I certainly hope you were watching that special tonight. David Lee Roth, Profiles in Rock with the Man. Next week, Joe Cocker in concert. That is going